Welcome to a very different kind of adventure. Today is day one of an I don't know how long trip, first up to Canada and then possibly over to Seattle and the Pacific Ocean. But the first goal is to get to Canada. And I'm doing that on that thing over there. This is my 2014 Honda Forza 300 scooter that I bought for a couple $1,000s last year. This is the first major trip. This is the first long ride I've done on this thing. And I'm going to be camping on the way to Canada. So tonight, we're gonna find a campsite somewhere. Got my camping gear mostly in the top case back in here. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm also a little bit scared because this whole motorcycling, scootering thing is new to me, but it is fun, it is enjoyable. It is early-ish in the morning still. It's 8:40. I've been up since 5. Cassie and I went and got breakfast together at McDonald's, and then I hit the road, and it was a kind of a cold drive here. It was 41, a ride here. It was 41 degrees when I left this morning. And here is this beautiful spot along the Green River here in southwestern Wyoming. The Green River is one of the major tributaries of the Colorado River. It meets up with the Colorado down in the Utah desert. And this is a famous spot for fly fishing. You can see there's a drift boat that just went past right there. There's a guy bank fishing right here. I don't think he's fly fishing, but beautiful spot. This is also a historic spot. This is the site of Lombard Ferry, which was a ferry across the Green River back in the starting in the 1850s, going to the early 1900s. I think it was $3 for a wagon to be shuttled across the river and 25 cents per person or per horse or something like that. And down the river here, there's also there's a recreation of what that ferry would have looked like. I think this was made in 1997 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Mormon pioneers crossing the river here. So this crossing was used by the Oregon Trail travelers and California Trail and Mormon Trail. So those all passed through here. And before this ferry was here, those early settlers would have to chop down some of the trees on the far bank and spend a few days making rafts to shuttle their wagons and horses and people across. And I think there would have been a rope or a cable going across the river that the ferry would have gone along. Our next stop is about 50 minutes away, a little less than an hour, 51 miles. And that is the gas station. We're going to fill up in the next town over, which is called Kemmerer, which is just a weird name. It's weird to say that, Kemmerer. But it's a nice little town, nice enough little town. We'll stop there, stretch our legs, fill up the tank, and I'm looking forward to the ride there. This will be a little stretch of road that I don't think I've driven before. I'm going to take sort of a back road to get there. I think it's paved. I hope it's paved because this scooter obviously is not any kind of all-terrain vehicle, but it does just fine on the blacktop. The speed limits on these back roads, on these highways, are fairly high. I've been going 70 miles an hour all morning. This scooter can do that, can do 70, can do 80. I think once we make a turn onto the next road in 6.2 miles, I think that is a little bit of a slower road, but again, I've never been on that one, so we'll see. I think the roads like this are all basically mining roads or other sorts of mineral extraction or resource extraction. Like I just passed a sign back there that was an Exxon Mobil sign. I think there's a helium processing plant up here somewhere. I think we have them to thank for these beautiful little roads to and past these various plants and facilities. And yeah, 55 miles an hour on this one. That is a wonderful cruising speed. Welcome everyone to the bustling metropolis of Kemmerer. Actually, I think this is Diamondville, which is a little town just kind of adjacent to Kemmerer. This area is known for fossils. Basically, there are a couple of places where you can dig for your own fossils. I'd like to do that at some point in the future, never done it before. There are also shops where you can go and buy fossils if that's something you're interested in. I'm passing through town here basically to just get gas and to stop and have a break, take a break, stretch a little bit. Another interesting thing about Kemmerer is that it is the coldest town in Wyoming. And that's saying something because every town in Wyoming is cold. But I like Kemmerer. It's a nice enough little town. You're quite close to the mountains. The Wyoming range is just basically right here. And then the Uintas in Utah are not too far to the south. And here's the sign for Kemmerer. Population 2415, elevation 6,927. So not a huge town, but big enough. It's got all the essentials. Fossil Butte National Monument is just outside of town to the west. And frankly, it's not that interesting of a national monument. There are like 2 trails there, and frankly, it's not really worth stopping at. One of the least interesting national monuments in this part of the country. Okay, let's stop at this Maverick here and get gas. Maverick is a great gas station in this part of the country, in case you're unaware. They always have nice clean bathrooms. So since leaving home this morning, I've gone 118 miles and averaged 59 miles per gallon. That's actually pretty low because we're going at higher speeds. You know, at 70 miles an hour, like in a car, the fuel efficiency goes down. But at 50 miles an hour, I think that's kind of the sweet spot. So the gas tank on this thing, am I still recording? Yes, I am. The gas tank is right here. So I need to remove this bag that has my camera gear in it. To pop the tank, we make sure the key is in the open position, hit the fuel button, and that pops right open. I do have a gallon of gas right here as a spare, but I would prefer to not have to use that. Okay, let's see here. How much does it cost to fill this bad boy up? It's got a 2-gallon tank, I think. That didn't take long. $6.59 for 55 cents for 1.8 gallons. Man, that is why this type of travel is so appealing. And there are these little picnic tables right next to the gas station, so I'm gonna have a break and refuel my body. Got some Walmart omega-3 trail mix and some water. I also have a map of the northwestern United States. Let me show you guys what the plan is for today and for this trip as a whole. So right now we are here in Kemmerer in southwestern Wyoming. I left Rock Springs, where I live, earlier this morning and drove over this way. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus a little bit better. Okay, like that. The goal for today is to get to the Idaho Falls Rexburg area in eastern Idaho. To get there, I'm going to go from Kemmerer over this way into Utah briefly. And this lake right here is called Bear Lake. It's a really pretty lake. I'm going to drive along the east side of that, which I've never done before, and then make my way through the mountains of southeastern Idaho. I'll be coming back into Wyoming, I think, and then going over this way to this area. I'll camp somewhere around here tonight, I think. If I have enough time, I might go into the mountains beyond Idaho Falls and Rexburg, but we'll see. And then ultimately, the plan is to continue on through eastern Idaho into southwestern Montana and through western Montana into the tip of the panhandle of Idaho, and then from here into British Columbia. Gonna go explore some of these lakes here, and then if I'm feeling good, I'll go through Washington to Seattle, and then through the Olympic Peninsula over to Cape Flattery, which is this northwestern point of Washington right here. So that is the ultimate plan, possibly, but for now, again, the initial plan to get up into British Columbia, get up into Canada. And so, leaving the gas station here, we're going to continue on for another 100 or so miles down the road as we make our way toward Canada. From my house to the Canadian border is like, oh, I don't know, 800, 900, 1,000 miles, somewhere in that range, depending on which route we decide to take. The point of today and tomorrow, which I think are going to be in the same video. Oh, by the way, this store right here, this JCPenney, was the first ever JCPenney, I think. I'm pretty sure that's right. Anyway, the goal of today and tomorrow is basically to get to Montana. I think that today and tomorrow will be in the same video. And so you're going to have a couple of campsites. You're going to see me setting up some new camping gear for the first time. I have a new tent that I've never actually slept in before, so this all should be pretty fun. But today is going to be a lot of riding. I'm not going to stop too much, just lots of riding. Going to cover some ground as we make our way toward Canada. Here we are crossing into Utah. Beautiful welcome to Utah sign here. State number 2. I'm now riding along the eastern side of Bear Lake. 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. Beautiful road, just beautiful driving. This lake straddles the Utah-Idaho border. I'm in Utah now. We'll be crossing into Idaho at some point, pretty quick here. And this lake is known as the Caribbean of the Rockies because the color is just beautiful. In certain places it's this beautiful turquoise, clear, bluish. It's just a beautiful color. Again, I've been to the west side of the lake a bunch of times, but I've never driven this road along the eastern side. I think it's paved the entire way. And it is just a joy. And if I'm not mistaken, we are just about to cross into Idaho from Utah. Ooh, yep. That cattle guard was a little bit bumpy there. Bear Lake State Park, Idaho. Back there, we went through a couple sections of Bear Lake State Park in Utah, but there are also parks in Idaho. I think the best, at least the best park that I've been to, I think is called North Beach State Park. It's on the very northern end of the lake. And I'm here at the end of May. You guys will see this, I don't know, a month or so later, I'm guessing, a month or two, somewhere in there. And there is just no one here. Like, all of these parks, all of these campgrounds are just empty, which makes sense because it's still a little bit chilly. It's too cold really to like swim in the water, I think, for most people. But if you don't like crowds, man, this is heaven. And it would still be nice to get out in a kayak or something like that, a paddleboard out on the water, even if it is a little bit cooler. It is still a beautiful, beautiful day. Okay, it's a little bit before 2 o'clock. I'm in the town of Soda Springs, Idaho. Very pleasant little town. I like this town. I used to live about an hour from here in Pocatello, Idaho, so I'm familiar with the area. Got a nice little park over here. There's a little train engine. I don't know what that's about. We'll go over there in a second. But I'm here to see something in the park behind me, in this park over here. but that won't happen for another about 15 or 20 minutes. It happens every hour on the hour, and again, it's not quite time yet. But anyway, let's go take a look at that train thing in the meantime. Here it is up close and personal. This is called Dinky Engine. It's a little locomotive. And this was used in the 20s to build a dam for a nearby reservoir called Alexander Reservoir. And then the rising water of the lake, of the reservoir, after the dam was built, made it impossible to recover this, basically. And so it was submerged underwater, and that was in the 20s. And then in the 70s, the reservoir was drained for repairs, and the train was rescued by Union Pacific and restored and then presented to the city of Soda Springs as a gift. And then next to the train, which is right here, we have a gun. This looks like an anti-aircraft gun of some sort. I don't know, you people out there, you viewers out there who are more into military history, let me know what this is and what war this would have been from. Also, Soda Springs was a notable stop on the Oregon Trail because it was home to springs, to natural springs that had naturally carbonated water, hence the name Soda Springs. And so today you can come here and visit the springs at the parks around town. I've done that in a previous video, I'll link to that down below. I came here with Cassie several years ago. You can just like bring a cup, dip it into the water and drink the kind of nasty tasting, but very slightly carbonated natural water. And you can even put things like, grape juice or powder or other flavors in there, and doesn't improve the quality of the water too much, but it does make it a little bit more palatable. Okay, we have about 5 minutes until this thing goes off. And by this thing, I mean a geyser that's right here. There is a non-natural, a sort of man-made geyser right in the middle of town. This is called Geyser Park. And this was created when the locals in the 1930s were drilling wells. I think the story goes that they were looking for hot water, for thermally heated water to pipe into their resorts and hotels, and instead they tapped into this thing. As they were drilling, a 40-foot geyser of water gushed out, and then they took the drill out and it became a 70-foot high geyser of water, and then it was eventually capped, and a timer is now on it. And so every hour on the hour, the geyser goes off for a few minutes. Any second now. There it is. That is so cool. And the kids next to me are having a great time, if you couldn't tell, if you couldn't hear that. And when it's warmer outside, kids will play in the water underneath it. It's pretty fun to watch. And then the water, oh, the wind has shifted and it's coming at me. And over the decades, this sort of travertine mound has built up along the base of the geyser, and there's a trench in it, so the water comes off this way and runs down over here, and then is drained away. And that's it. Lasts for about 8 minutes. I think that the plan is now to drive or ride. I keep saying drive. I'm new to this still, if you couldn't tell. I'm gonna ride for a few hours, gonna continue north and then east. We're gonna dip back into Wyoming before coming back into Idaho. I'm gonna make my way toward Rexburg in eastern Idaho. There's a Walmart there, there's something I wanna pick up as long as I'm in the neighborhood, and it should take a couple hours. And it's gonna be a beautiful drive. I've done this drive many times before. I'm not gonna stop and show you guys every little thing, every little viewpoint, but I will show you the highlights and just give you guys a general idea of what this beautiful part of the country is like. You know, this scooter is not the fastest vehicle in the world, but it's faster than this thing. I think I'll be able to pass this no problem as soon as I can actually see what's ahead of me here. Oh man, it's hours later, as you can probably tell. I'll explain everything, I'll explain where I am and what I've been up to after I get my tent set up. The wind is crazy. I think we have a thunderstorm coming in. Well, I'm all settled in here more or less. It's an absolute mess in here. And of course, as soon as I'm in here, the rain stops, the wind stops, and it's like calm outside right now. Go figure. But we got the tent up, we got the scooter covered, we got the gear in the tent. And so now, let's see. Let me gather my thoughts here a little bit. So the last time you heard from me, we were in Soda Springs, and I just drove. I drove through the mountains, I drove into Wyoming, back into Wyoming, and then out of Wyoming again, and I ended up riding something like 400 miles today. And before this trip, I didn't know how many miles I would want to do or be able to do in a day, because I'm very new to scooters and motorcycles and this whole thing. I didn't know if my back would start hurting after an hour and I'd have to call it quits or what, but my back and neck and shoulders are a little bit sore, but nothing that a good night's sleep won't cure, hopefully. So I went into Rexburg. I'm just west of Rexburg right now. I'm like 15 minutes west of town. This is BLM land that I'm kind of familiar with because I used to live in Rexburg, and this area is where people come to go shooting and off-roading and all that good stuff. I can hear someone shooting across the highway over there. And so I knew that this was a potential general area that I wanted to check out for tonight, and yeah, it worked out. Here's the mess inside of here. Got a lot going on. I would say that I'll organize it, but I don't know if I will. I think I'll just live with it like this for the night. It's good enough for the night, right? So this tent is one that I got off of Amazon. It's Nature Hike, the brand. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I paid, I think, $120 for this tent. And I have a bunch of tents already. I have one-man tents, I have three-man tents, like good backpacking tents. But I wanted a two-man tent because I wanted something big enough that I could fit all my gear inside with me. My one-man tent that I already have wouldn't be able to fit any of this in here. It's big enough basically for a camp pad, a camp mattress. My three-man tent is too long. It doesn't fit in the cargo box, in the top case, the plastic box on the back of the scooter. And so I went onto Amazon and I found this. It got good reviews. It's relatively compact, relatively lightweight. So far so good. It held up to those crazy winds that we had that suddenly died down. And so I'm happy with this. I'm glad I picked up this tent. The weather has indeed calmed down. Here's my campsite. And the sky is just crazy. Look at that. And then in this other direction to the west, I don't know if you'll really be able to see it, but there are some mountains on the horizon over here. That's where we're heading tomorrow. We're gonna go into Montana through the mountains over that way. I'm gonna wrap up filming for tonight, but this video will continue into tomorrow, so I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning. I survived. We made it through the night. It continued to rain off and on throughout the night, but it wasn't too bad. And it's currently not raining. Hopefully that weather holds. I slept okay. I never sleep super well in a tent. That's one of the main reasons I got into SUV RVing. Sleeping in my car is that I can just sleep much better in my car than I do in a tent. And it's so much easier. It really makes me appreciate sleeping in a car. I can just roll up to a campsite in my car and I'm done, basically. There's no setup, no setting up the tent in the wind, no putting all my gear from the vehicle into the tent. It's just so nice. Anyway, we survived and it's 6:17 right now. I've been up since about 5:30. For breakfast this morning, I'm just gonna have a cookie and Belvita crunchy cinnamon brown sugar breakfast biscuits. I could go back into Rexburg and get a real breakfast. I'm only 15 minutes from town, but I don't really want to. I mean, that's 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back, plus going around in town and finding a place to have breakfast. That's, you know, an hour of riding that I could be doing. And I'd like to cover ground as much as I can today while the weather is still good, because I don't know what the weather is going to be like later in the day. I'm ready. I'm excited. I really enjoyed yesterday. There's a feeling of freedom that you get on a scooter or a motorcycle. And it's not the kind of freedom that most people think of when people talk about the freedom of the open road and the wind in their hair when they're talking about motorcycling. For me, it's the fact that I can fill this thing up for $6, and the fact that I can drive to Canada for like $60 or $70. That, to me, is the freedom aspect of it. And it is fun to be on the road. It is fun to ride the twisties. And I'm surprised at how well it went yesterday, because before yesterday, I'd never spent more than like 45 minutes on this thing. I'd put maybe 75 miles on it in the 6 months that I've owned it. Most of that 6 months was winter. It went surprisingly well, and I feel good on the bike. I didn't feel like I was gonna crash or anything like that. So I'm feeling good today, and I'm excited. So let me finish my my meager little breakfast here, such as it is. Let's pack up and let's hit the road. If you're wondering what I'm wearing for this trip, I have an undershirt, and then this long sleeve shirt, and then this zip up hoodie kind of thing. It's fairly thin, and then this more heavy duty motorcycle jacket that has armor in it. It has padding in the shoulders and the back and the elbows to protect you in case you fall or something. And then on the bottom, I just put on my my waterproof pants, and so I have my riding pants, which are also armored in the hips and the knees, and then the waterproof outer layers, and then I have hiking pants on underneath that as a base layer. The weather is turning worse. It's getting more windy. I can see the darker clouds coming, so I'm a little bit, I guess, resigned to my fate here, but let's cover some distance while we can, while it's still sort of semi-clear weather. It feels good to be on the road, but there is a strong crosswind blowing from the left that makes riding fairly unpleasant right now. Look at this, the sun is even out. It's turning out to be a glorious morning, especially since we are in one of my favorite places. There are a few parallel mountain ranges here, and we have the Beaverhead Mountains right here. These form the border, the line between Idaho and Montana. We have the Lemhi Range kind of straight ahead and on my left, and then to the far left we have the Lost River Range over there. I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm going off the top of my head here. And then in between those mountain ranges are these beautiful high desert valleys that are just a ton of fun to drive through. And it's roads like this, just little highways running through the mountains. This prominent mountain right here is Diamond Peak. That is the third highest mountain in Idaho. It's 12,000 something feet. That neighboring mountain range to the left, the Lost River Range, that's home to Bora Peak, which is the highest mountain in Idaho, which I have climbed before, but that was like 15 years ago. That was way before I made YouTube videos. Okay guys, well, I wasn't recording, but I just laid the bike over. I just laid the bike down. I just kind of slid on the bike. So I was pulling into this dirt road here. I was going to pull over here to fly the drone, get some epic drone footage of me riding through the valley. And I think I was just on the brakes too hard, and the bike just slid in this loose gravel, and we went down. I'm fine. The bike has some cosmetic blemishes here, unfortunately, that will probably affect the resale value, but that's okay. The box is a little scraped up, the top case is a little scraped, the bag is a little bit dirty, but otherwise I think the bike is fine. I'm fine. So let's fly the drone. Well, it was raining pretty hard for a long time in Salmon, and so I got a burger from a restaurant and some fries and a drink, and I spent about an hour just waiting out the rain in that restaurant, and I just got kind of bored. I probably should have waited a little bit longer, but I got tired of waiting, and so I hit the road, drove about 10 miles north, and then it started to rain again, and it's raining now, so I'm taking shelter under this pavilion at a park. It's actually a campground too. The campground is called Tower Rock Campground. I think it's $5 a night. The campground itself is over here, just out in the open. Not my kind of thing, but if it keeps raining, I might just pitch the tent here. Guess we'll see. But yeah, it's called Tower Rock because of these rock formations above the river, above the campground. The river, of course, is the Salmon River, and Lewis and Clark, actually, on their expedition to the west, camped right below Tower Rock also. So that's kind of fun. But it's still raining, so let's get back under the pavilion here. My plan is to just hang out a little bit longer, see if the rain eases up a little bit. I'd like to make it up and over the pass into Montana today, but my schedule is kind of flexible on this trip, and so you know, if I need to wait it out all day, I can. I just don't really want to. But yeah, this road leads up to a pass, and the pass is the border between Idaho and Montana. And you know, if the weather is bad down here, it might be even worse up there. So I'm a little bit hesitant. But yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you posted. We now have 20 miles to go to get to the Montana border and the top of the pass. And now it's 15 miles to the top. We've left the main stem of the Salmon River behind, and this road now follows the North Fork of the Salmon River. It's a much smaller river. I mean, it's basically a creek up here. Beautiful pines, beautiful forest, beautiful mountains, lots of green. Beautiful drive. 10 miles to go now. The sun is out. There's some blue sky. I think we are going to get back into the clouds at some point, so I'm enjoying the beautiful weather the lack of rain while I still can. The speed limit on this road is 65 most of the way, and that feels a little bit fast for me. I'm not super comfortable at that speed, and neither is this car in front of me. He's been going like 10 miles an hour under the speed limit this whole time, so I'm just kind of hanging out with him. But there is a guy behind me, so I'm gonna look for a place to pull over so I can let him pass. Oh, perfect timing. Passing lane ahead. This is the first one in like 30 miles. Check this out. This person doing it on a bike. Wow. Loaded with a ton of gear. Brutal. Just 5 miles an hour, 4.8 actually. And to clarify, I'm fine going, you know, 65, 70, 75 on this scooter when it's straight, but when it's 65 and there are lots of turns in the mountains, then it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Because again, I'm still a newbie when it comes to this stuff. This is all brand new to me. But we're making it happen, we're making it work. Now that the grade of the road is a little bit steeper, there are more passing lanes. Like every couple of miles, there's another passing lane. One mile to the top now, less than a mile. We are almost there. I just saw signs saying that there's a rest area up at the top too, so we're gonna stop there and take a look around. I'm so glad this isn't wet. I would not have wanted to do this in the rain, but it is completely dry. We did it, guys, and I see the Montana sign. So let's pull over here. Welcome to Montana. Yes, we did it. Look at that. We made it. I don't know if this is the highest point on the trip, but it's definitely one of them. I mean, this isn't super high. It's like 7,000 something. But it sure feels good to be on top. Let's fly the drone. Oh, and here's the Welcome to Idaho sign back in the other direction. Let's fly the drone and then continue on our way. Rain, and more rain. That has been the theme of today. I got rained on probably 10 times today. Just off and on, little bits of rain here and there. It was exhausting, but I made it to camp, and it's a beautiful campsite. You guys already saw me set the tent up once, so I thought I would just do it again off camera and show you the finished result. And I've managed to park the scooter under some shelter, under the tree over there. We have a roaring creek, nice big area. This little driveway is what I rode the scooter down right here, and then the main road, which is paved, is right here. I'm in national forest land, but as far as I can tell, this is kind of a paved road to nowhere. There is like a hot spring resort or something like that at the end of this road, but I don't think that warrants this many mile long paved road through the national forest. It's crazy, but I'm glad it's here. I'm glad, you know, this trip forces me to look at things in a different way. So normally I would never come looking in this canyon for a campsite, because why would I drive on a paved road when I'm in the Land Cruiser and I can drive on any of a million unpaved roads in the mountains? But when researching where I was going to camp tonight, I needed a spot that was off of a paved road. So I looked at national forest and I looked at paved roads that well, I looked at roads that led through the national forest, and I looked on Google Maps on the satellite view to see if they were paved or not, because you can tell on the satellite images. And that's how I found this awesome spot. Here's a quick look at the inside of the tent. Here's a quick look at the scooter in all of its glory. And here's a quick look at my dinner. I just stopped at a grocery store in Darby, Montana, and I picked up a few things. I'm not super hungry, so I got some cheese and crackers, some blueberries, and some dessert. And back behind me we have the very swollen creek. I think this is called Sleeping Child Creek. This road is called Sleeping Child Road. This is Sleeping Child Canyon. And then I have a new camp chair. This is a great little chair. Similar story to the tent. I needed a camp chair that was smaller. I have a million camp chairs, but I needed one that could fit in the top case of the scooter. And so this one was relatively cheap as far as ultralight seats go, as far as ultralight chairs go. This was like $40 on Amazon. The brand is Trekology. I'll put a link to it down below. Great little chair. It's lower than your average camp chair, and that helps keep the pieces down here short. That helps keep the weight of the overall package to be pretty low. So you could take this conceivably backpacking if you wanted to. Oh, what a wild and crazy couple of days. This has been a very eye-opening experience for me. This has been a very interesting experience for me. Lots of learning going on, and I've just had a great time. You know, normally the last couple of days would be just me driving my car to Montana, to where I wanted to start filming some videos. But on this trip, this is really the definition of it's the journey, not the destination, that's important. And just driving these beautiful roads, showing you guys the beautiful scenery has been so fun. Even though we haven't done like crazy outdoor hiking adventures, I haven't climbed any mountains. I've just been riding a $2,000 scooter through the wild places of the wild paved places of the western United States. Adventure comes in all shapes and sizes, doesn't it? I think that bright red scooter kind of exemplifies that. So we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed these couple of days. I think I rode like 250, 260 miles today. And so add that on to yesterday's mileage, and we're looking at 650, 660, somewhere in that. That's pretty darn good for a brand new motorcycle rider over the course of 2 days with challenging weather conditions. I'm pretty happy with that. Tomorrow, we're gonna get back into some good old-fashioned SUV RVing adventuring, so be sure to stay tuned for that. We are eventually gonna make it to Canada. We have a couple more videos between here and Canada, so stay tuned. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.